Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm excited to be with you today talking about making peace with trials, and we're going to do it in about 10 minutes. So here we go. Stick with me, jump in, bring your attention and your focus. Let's talk about making peace with trials. I'm going to share a little bit about what is a trial, um, share some examples that I've been experiencing recently. I'm going to talk about the value of testing or trying, and finally, a few tools to help reduce the negative impact of trials. And I mean, this is, I of course, my goodness, could spend way more than 10 minutes talking about trials, and maybe I will at some point. But for now, we're just going to go into this kind of introduction, I would say, and really just to consider a few a few perspectives on this topic. So it starts with definition. Let's talk about what is trial. And when I just looked this up, some common definition that I snagged for the purpose of this conversation is a trial is a test of faith or patience. And this is how we often view that. And or this is at least how I often experience trial, or what I gather when other people are talking about um, a trial they're experiencing. It's often viewed as or expressed as a challenging situation that we must endure. It's like we're subject to some hardship that we must endure. And that experience of enduring is not going to be pleasant. It's going to be tough, or it is tough. Um, versus, here's the new perspective I want to jump right into and use this to continue for the rest of the content. Again, for this a bit of this introduction into trial. What about this? We could view this concept of trial as a circumstance that gives us the opportunity to more deeply understand our power. Okay, come with me for a moment. Um, Hear me out on this, because I think if I share that, oh, I'm imagining some of your responses like, "What?" Um, and what's the value of understanding your power? And what do you mean by power? And I mean, are you saying that a trial isn't challenging? No, just hear me out. Let's just talk about this for a moment, okay? And share any of your comments, please. Any thoughts that you have. Okay, but I'll first talk a bit about power. What do I mean by power? Um, what I mean is that we have a circumstance that helps us understand our power to solve problems, our power to be who we want to be, regardless of our circumstances, our power and ability to process any emotion, our power to experience what we want to experience, power to create internal peace amidst turmoil, power to stay in light and love, when the easy route might be one of hate and anger, or frustration and disappointment. This could be one way to think about trials, right? They are circumstances that come into our lives that give us the opportunity to more deeply understand our power. I'm tempted to run through that list of things again. Power to this, power to that. There are all these amazing things that as I go through that list. And these are just a few that I jotted down. There's of course more aspects that we could consider, more power that we can understand or come come to know better when we're experiencing these type of circumstances. Um, so if we build on this definition, this basic definition I grabbed, this says a trial is a test of faith or patience. I might also add or talk about this as it being a test that offers us the opportunity to put our faith into practice. What I mean by that is it tests our faith not just to endure something heavy, um, or to keep going while being weighted down. It allows us to practice um, our faith to be weighed down temporarily, but to return to light despite the circumstance. So it's like we practice faith to remove the internal turmoil. Oftentimes we think of trials as practicing faith or patience to just hang on. But what if it's a test that allows us to practice our faith or our skill in partnership with God? This skill in partnership with God of skill of reducing turmoil or lifting weight, alleviating weight. That's the right phrase. Reducing turmoil, alleviating heaviness and weight. What if that's what this test is about? What if a trial is an opportunity for us to get good at alleviating weight or heaviness we might be experiencing and reducing internal turmoil? Oh man. How does it land with you? I mean, when I consider that, you can let me know how you're thinking, but when I consider that, I'm energized. I'm feeling the energy. I'm like, oh my word. If I can view trials in that way, it's really empowering. It's a circumstance that allows me more deeply understand my own power. It's a circumstance that gives me the opportunity to practice faith. Faith, which is belief in things I can't see that leads to action. Action, which reduces turmoil and alleviates heaviness. What do you think? Here's a common thing we often do when we're experiencing these kind of circumstances. When we don't feel good physically because of some physical limitation or fatigue or pain, or we don't feel good emotionally, we're experiencing some anxiety or stress, discouragement. Do you know what we often do that does not help one bit? Is when we are experiencing that difficulty and we think, I hate this. How often do you find yourself in that place? Just thinking, man, I hate this. I don't want to be in this place. I don't want to be dealing with this situation. I don't want to be feeling anxious. I don't want to be feeling stressed. I don't want to be discouraged or depressed or down. I hate this. If you have experienced that, you are among, I would guess, the majority of people who experience that. It's so common. It's so common to think, I hate this. But do you know what? That phrase, that thought, that single phrase in your mind, when you're in a circumstance that is creating some, or that includes some physical or emotional difficulty, when you think, I hate this, all you're doing is creating more emotional difficulty. But why do we do it? Why do we commonly go there to that thought, that belief, that pattern of thinking, I hate this? Well, there could be a few reasons. Here's some we could consider. I mean, there's good reasons why we go to these kinds of patterns. And I think that a reason we often go to thinking, I hate this, is because we think it will relieve suffering in some way. For example, as it relates to others, we might think, hey, if I am in this misery and I'm thinking I hate this and I'm feeling even more low, others might have pity on us and they might help us. Or maybe others will have some sympathy. We'll feel a bit more loved or understood. Or when it comes to ourselves, if we're feeling really low and and we get ourselves even lower by thinking I hate this, maybe we'll think that will get us motivated to do something to get out of the situation, or that we'll gain the courage to have a difficult conversation with someone that might lead to change. In some way, this pattern of thinking, I hate this, is in some way acting like, or we believe it to be something that will relieve suffering. We perceive it as a pattern that will help us in some way. But maybe it won't. I just want you to consider um, when you're experiencing trial, when you're experiencing a circumstance that's creating physical or emotional pain, notice if you go to this place of like, I hate this, and is it really necessary? Is it really serving you? Is it really relieving suffering? Because what we know just from that thought alone, that phrase alone, when you think I hate this, what does that do for you emotionally? What does it do? For me at least, it creates anger. So that also might be a reason why sometimes go there, is because anger is a powerful emotion. It makes you feel powerful. And when you are feeling the difficulty of a trial, anger is a nice place to be, because what you're trying to do is get out of this trial, get out of this difficult circumstance. And so anger might help you get there. But that might be the lie, right? Anger feels powerful, but it might not necessarily be the only mechanism of power that we can access. We can gain power. Remember what I started with when I talked about the definition of trial, a test of faith or patience, and a test that gives us the opportunity to more deeply understand our power. We have power not just from anger, we have power in us. Power to solve problems, to be who we want to be regardless of our circumstances, power to process any emotion, to experience what we want to experience. We have power to create internal peace amidst turmoil. We have power to stay in light and love. That power is in us, and anger is not necessary to access that power. Anger is not the mechanism of that power. That power is in us separate from anger. Okay, Sally, you say you removed the word hate from your vocabulary years ago. Amazing! Oh my goodness. How amazing. Okay, you removed that from your vocabulary, the words that you say. Did you also remove it from the thoughts that you think? But here's the thing that I always am embracing, is that word hate might still always be in our minds. It might come across all the time. I still experience it, even though I've practiced removing it. We still have these I describe them as uncontrollable thoughts that just whoop come right by. They just like it's like a drive-by. I view it as a drive-by. We get drive-bys of thoughts, these sentences that just come into our head, and they might be unintentional. They might be uncontrolled, right? They just kind of show up. But them just showing up doesn't mean that we have to keep thinking it, that we have to indulge in it. It can just show up. We can have this hate sentence show up in our mind and watch it. And just watch it drive on by. Just like a drive by. Like it's just like, "Oh, I just had this thought that I hate the situation I'm in." Oh, and you just let it go. It just keeps going. You don't have to indulge in it. That's the beautiful thing. That's the amazing thing of practicing intentional thinking. You can allow space for the unintentional thinking, let it be there, and decide on purpose what you continue thinking. Okay. Um, I'm already past my 10 minutes I said I was going to spend right now. So, I have so much more to say. I've done this before, and maybe this is a pattern I'm going to start embracing. Which is doing these topics in two parts. Part one over 1 week, and then part two the next week. And um, so let's consider that now. Let's keep these 10 to 15 minutes or so. And so this part one is really an introduction to the concept of what a trial is. And I really offered a bit of a new perspective on what a trial is. That perspective is that a trial can be a test of our faith. Um, in other words, an opportunity that gives us the ability to put our faith into practice, to more deeply understand our power, to practice faith not to endure heaviness, but faith to return to light despite our circumstance. And finally, I talked about something that does not help when experiencing trial, and it is the thought, I hate this. That doesn't get us out of the trial. It feels powerful, but that is a deception. That's deception. It appears to be something that's giving us power, but really, we have power regardless of anger, separate from anger. So that is where we're going to conclude this part one of making peace with trials. In part two, I'm going to share some more examples, some examples I've been experiencing recently, and I'm going to talk more about the value of this concept of testing our faith in this way, of being able to more deeply understand our power, and I'll share some specific tools, some practices that I've used to make peace with trial. Sally, yes, I experience it, but I know my actions are no longer consumed by it. It shows up and it leaves, as I don't allow it to consume me. Amazing. Yes. Thank you all so much for joining and commenting. Please keep the comments coming um, and the community alive. I'm so grateful you're with me, and I'll speak again with you next time. Stay tuned for part two. All right. Bye, everyone.